The making of a champion. It seems I'm the only one who's not a champion over here. The three champions from various walks of life. And we can go on for 3-4 days, or maybe we can play a test match, 5 days with these kind of resources that we have, but all we have is 1 hour. So let me move away from the equation as much as possible and allow them to speak. What makes a champion is a topic. It's imperative that I give you a little bit of background as to how this came about, how Poorna is here and how JK is here. But before that, let's start with the gentleman over there. He wrote a book. He has been writing about various things, right from Charapunji to the Indian English and all of that. And I'm not surprised that he wrote a book on sporting champions, because in his book, and the book title is Top Game, Winning, Losing and Understanding a New Sport. Quite painfully, but in a fun-filled and humor-ridden manner, he speaks about how he failed to become a sports person. And let me tell you, a lot of people today who speak about sports, who write about sports, including yours truly, are failed sportsmen. I want to play for the country, but I could not get into the school team, right? Despite repeated attempts. So it's time for you to kill your ambition and bury it as deep as you can and fall back on plan B or plan C. So this is the book that's the base. So let us start with Binoo there. Binoo, as I mentioned already, you have been writing about various things, right? One interesting aspect about the book, which I could sense, was champion. It's a very common word. We call people who don't deserve champions. Your book is an all-encompassing one, wherein you talk about a lot of angles which we don't get to see in other books. So intent was there, a lot of preparation, a lot of research. What got you there? What was the motivation for you to write this book?
Hello. Thank you very much for the nice introduction. I'm also happy to have JK, Mahendra and Poorna here. They're all great sportsmen, something which we dreamed about, but not everybody can achieve. She's climbed the Everest. And JK Mahendra has opened for Kerala, has played for Kerala in 40 Ranji matches. A very great achieving cricketer. During those days when Kerala couldn't reach anywhere, JK Mahendra held the fort. So I used to be at most of his matches, which I played in the local ground. But no matches Kerala ever won, which I saw those days. But now Kerala is a stronger cricket team, and are qualified for quarters in many of the national tournaments. So Kerala. So what I am saying, people like Mahendra put the basis for that growth. And now I think cricket will take off in India. Now back to your question about the champions. It's a notion that in cricket, in sport in general, and among coaches in general, there are various wrong notions of what makes a champion. People think that a certain person is born to become a sportsman. And people think people, African Americans or blacks, have more sporting ability than whites. And white people are not very good at physical sport, but they are good at evolved sport like tennis and other games. But these are all wrong theories, which many scientists have gone to theories. Why does a certain man reach number one? Why couldn't others who are playing with him reach number one? So these are very slightly complex questions which I try to answer in my book. One of the basic reasons which scientists call Erickson, he studied the notion of excellence in every sport. He studied musicians first. But this conclusion, which is known as Anders Ericsson theory, is that it is nothing but targeted practice which makes you excel in any field of life. There's nothing called a talented, coaches say, oh, he's a talented man, he'll become a champion. Talent comes from practice. There's nothing which you get from birth. There's nothing which genetics confirms you. That is the reason why, otherwise Sachin Tendulkar's son could have been straight away walked in the cricket test match. Thing is, you're the way in which you practice, the way in which your early days, you cannot find any champion in any sport who hasn't started playing in some way from the age of, say, 10 to 15, a very, very crucial age in development of all faculties, including physical. And if you haven't played football from the age of 10 to 15, anyway, regularly in India, you cannot make it. So these are the things which I try to explore. So later I'll answer these questions.
Thank you so much. I'll bring in JK, but before that, Poorna, At school, we had this national anthem competition. I'm sure that some of you would have participated. It's a group competition. How did it feel to sing a national anthem at 5,642 meters or 18,510, feet high? I'm talking about the Mount Elbrus, which is not only the tallest in Russia, but in the entire Europe, right? So what was it like to unfurl the national flag, which was about 50 meters, and then to sing the national anthem? For somebody who's a teenager, I know what I was doing at 13, but you seem to be made of something else, Poorna.
So first of all, good morning, everyone. So actually, honestly, it was so cold. I think minus 20, 30 degrees temperature, and I was so tired. Because it's almost 8 to 10 hours climbing up to the summit from the summit camp. So on the way, even I heard my hands get cold, and I was unable to move my fingers during the climbing before reaching the summit. So it was so painful. Both my hands was freezed, and I can't move my fingers, and they are like freezed completely. So my guides, they have helped me doing something, and they made warm my hands, and then again I slowly started climbing up, and it was honestly singing a national anthem at 5,000 meters is so hard. The lip movement is also very hard, in that minus 30 degrees temperature. But I think that passion and that interest and the love to the country made it possible. That's a great and unforgettable moment, a great memory in my life.
To start with, you must be a happy man in the recent years, the progress of Kerala cricket. He is a man who made it to the top right from obscurity, absolute obscurity. He comes from Kannur, I think tucked away in a village in Kannur, that's where you come from. And theoretically, okay, if you look at it, he's the first Malayali to play for India, play cricket for India. And it dates back to 66, 67, if I'm right, when he played for the junior India side. And he was also one of the cricketers to have travelled along with the school cricket team to England. So we got a practice of school cricket team from India going to England. And he was a part of the very first team. And he has also been a national junior selector. So he made it big at a time when Kerala cricket was, no offense meant to anybody. There was a former Kerala cricketer captain who told me that sometimes we used to hang about for the 4th and 5th days because the allowance used to be more and we used to get free lunches. And I'm not kidding. This was the case even in the early 90s or mid-90s. JK, very quickly tell us about your journey and how difficult was it at that point to make a mark in cricket from being from a state which was always athletics, football and volleyball friendly.
Well, I came from a little town. Kannur was a little village then, I think, part of Kerala. There was nothing to do, and we Gujaratis never got into sport. My uncles, and they were against sport. I became a black sheep in the family because I had taken love to the game when I first met Balan Pandit, who happened to be my coach. At the age of 12, I remember him teaching me to hold the bat. And that's how love and affection to the game started. And there's nothing to do. Sometimes don't go to school. Cut away from the class, go to the grounds. You have to put your own mat, your own net. Unlike today, which everything is available. Facilities are fantastic for sports people and cricketers especially. And difficult days, hard times, get 1 or 2 boys to play. It was very difficult to get people to play, but then we used to manage. We used to play with old people, wait for a few days to get a chance in the team. They were all elderly people when I started playing at the age of 12. And even after that, when I played Ranji Trophy, after coming back from England in '67, when people suddenly realized that there could be somebody who can play for the country, which they didn't believe when I started playing in Canno. They said, what are you going to do in life? Playing cricket, there's no money, there's nothing. You're wasting money, black sheep. But then, when I came back from England, the country, the state, everybody realized that even from a village, from a little town, one could achieve if you work hard. And we had a lot of good football players or cricket players of the past in that area. But there's a British cantonment club which became a Canno Cricket Club. We had the history of British there in Telshiri and Kannur, and they would talk about old times. Colin Cowdray was born in Calcutta but played in Kannur also and Telshiri. So these kind of things instigates you to become something. I went on to play for the country. That's where people started realizing in Kerala that one can start playing. The other part of my life was I enjoyed the game. Unfortunately, because we didn't have the facilities and we were underdogs on those days, we were a very poor side compared to Chennai or Madras or then Hyderabad or Karnataka, who fielded about 7 to 8 test cricketers, Pataudi, Jaishima, Basili Beg. We would have lost the game before even it started. Well, that's how cricket evolved over the years, and Kerala today is in a wonderful situation, almost champion team, and we have produced quite a few Indian cricketers. But the best part of my life, which I enjoyed more than my achieving to play for the country, was after 30 years when I became a selector of India. I could go and work and make sure that somebody who is good shouldn't be deprived. And I got Sri Kumar Nair to play for the country. That is after 30 years. Well, after that followed Tinu and Sri Shant, and today we have Sanju Samson. So we are in a very bright future with Kerala cricket. To become a champion, as Mr. Binoo says, it's from the heart, it's not from the muscles. So if you work hard, and hats off to this girl to have achieved climbing this huge mountain. And without being in Andhra, I'm sure, did you ever get a chance to go to the Higher Performance Center? You did? Yeah. No, now there are high performance centers, and today sports and cricket has changed a lot. Sports science has come into play. Today you have very, very intensive sports programs, training programs, centers. Asia's largest center happens to be in Chennai, where I worked 5 years, Center for Sports Science, where I learned that just being fit is not enough. You need to really work hard to become a champion or to become a great sports person. And we have a high performance center there where if people want to go to high altitude, they can use that. Well, that's been the journey to start. Fortunately, cricket, I believe, is not only a game. Seriously, from that village to a city and the world, I traveled and saw, because cricket is an institute by itself. I learned so much today. If I'm speaking here, it's not because of my going to college or school. I broke away from school and I worked at FACT. But by traveling and meeting people around the world, one can do a lot of good to the game and can spread word to the coming youngsters that, well, I have one very interesting thing to tell, because a lot of parents today want their children to play. They want to play. They're spending a lot of money to play cricket. There are hundreds of academies in Kerala, thousands in Bangalore, Chennai, very commercial. But the risk of a child is very important to parent to guide and support them. When I was in South Africa, Mr. Binoo, when I was in South Africa in 2003, 2007 after the World Cup, somebody asked me to do an interview in the papers there, local, and they asked me, why is this Indian team so weak in fielding and catching, and we lost badly because of fielding. I told them, we are very different from you. Our parents never take us to the grounds, to the gardens, to the parks, or to the beach and play sport with us and spend time with us. Unfortunately, in India, it doesn't happen. Yes, in the last 10 years, decade, things have changed. Parents have got interested. Parents are spending a lot of time and money on the kids. And my only advice to parents is, at the age of 15, 16, you have to make a decision whether you want him to go to the career or his talent. And with the advice of people and with the facilities today, you can make a good judgment whether he should continue to play and become a champion.
Right.
Well, thank you, sir.
See, I've been arguing with Mahendra about the notion of risk in sport. There's no risk. Everything in life is a risk. If you decide to go for IIT, it's also a risk. You might not, there's no surety that if you write the IIT exam, you're going to make it. So millions of students have spent their life trying to get into IIT and not made it. And so they'll go to other aspects of engineering. Similarly, as I was telling him, sport, you have to go for that. I mean, when you put your child in a cricket coaching camp or a football coaching camp, I mean, you go for it. I mean, there's a risk. Everything in life is a risk. Setting out as a writer is a big, big risk. So many people I met here in this literary festival there are agents as well. Some of my friends were literary agents who sign writers. I mean, he says it's to get a publisher to accept a book is an impossible task in India.
Absolutely.
Impossible task. You try writing a book in English, whether it's sports or any, and try to get it published, you won't get published. Because so many writers and so many, you have to keep at it. You have to keep at it like I did, or various other bigger writers here who made it. My friend, I'll tell you my friend, Shehan Karnatuleke, Booker Prize winner, who's here, I met him. When he came to my festival after in 2012 here in Kanakakunnu Palace, same place, after he had written a book called Chinaman, about a guy who played cricket and bowled the Chinaman. Chinaman is a leg spin googly. Leg spin googly is called Pradeep Matthew. It was a fascinating story. It captured everybody. Then he was Then he was good, and he was the first. He was introduced, but now he comes back as a Booker winner.
Right.
It is amazing. It means he's on the top rung of literary writers in the world. To achieve that sort of thing is not possible. It's a risk that you can't ask him. It was a risk for him as well to go into full-time writing. Everything is a risk.
Right.
So if your parents want to go for sport, well, let them go.
So before I put the next question to Binoo, there's something which we need to do. JK deserves one more round of applause because of the magnitude of what he achieved. Please, another round of applause for him. Now, sometimes nations show their health and wealth and power at the highest level, at the world level, through sports, right? And taking a leaf out of Binoo's book, there is this aspect called "Why Do Wealthy Nations Always Have Podium Finishes?" And I disagree with you on certain aspects, because Kenya and Ethiopia can be an aberration there. But if you look at Indian sports, we have the second largest population in the world. Look at the Olympics. 1980, we won an Olympic gold in hockey, largely due to the non-participation of a lot of countries. 84 medalists, 88 medalists, 92 medalists, 96 we had one medal, Leander Paes, 2000 we had Kanna Malleshwari, 2004 we had a Rajyavardhan Singh Rathore. We're talking about one medal each. 2008 we changed the script a bit, we got 3 medals, sorry. And in 2012 we got 6 medals, when we invested more, and we ended up winning 2 medals in 2016, and in Tokyo it is 6. Now, we talk about this thing, genes, the DNA, and the culture, and all of that. Now, if I'll go to ask Poorna the same question a little later, but I'll start with you quickly, Binoo. Are champions born or are they made?
As I was explaining, thank you for the question, very good question. Thing is, champions are not born. Nobody can be born a champion. This myth, as many coaches and many selectors believe that he is born in a sporting family. If you are born in a sporting family, there is no rule that you will also become a sportsman. In fact, many of the sportsmen today are people who came from very poor backgrounds, are Olympic medal winners, who just went at it with no hope in hell. The Neeraj Chopra, when he took up javelin, never hoped that he would win a medal. He just went at it with such passion. You can't imagine. You just can't imagine the type of passion a person like Neeraj Chopra has got put into becoming a world-class javelin thrower. And now he hasn't touched 90 meters, but hopefully he'll touch 90 and bring up gold next time. But the question is, to become a champion is extremely tough work. He was asking about Olympic. If you study the history of Olympic medals, only rich nations are always on top. If you go by GDP, I put a table, from 1957 to all the way down, all the rich nations have dominated Olympics without any fail. In terms of medals, number of medals won. USA has always been on top. Oh, first, when USSR was a big nation, USSR was there. If you go all the way down and then you study the rise of China, China's medal go gradually almost like a graph, all the way up. Because the richer you are, the more money you put into sport. The more money you put into sport and training and the high excellence, you need to have high excellence academies, not just where you go and play, where strategy is discussed and strategy is learned. You must have a strategy for even javelin throw. You just don't go and throw a javelin. You know, there's a certain strategy in which you throw, timing in which you release, number of steps you take. Some Neeraj Chopra might reduce the number of steps, others might increase the steps. So much of strategy, even in people think just go and throw. If you have a strong arm, you will. I say, nahi hai. You don't win a javelin, but so much of strategy, even 100. Then there are outlier nations like Kenya and Jamaica. Kenya dominates. Kenya is not a rich nation, nowhere in the even top 20, but they are in the top 6, 7 in Olympic. Why? Because they have middle distance, long distance riders. Kenya, Ethiopia, and surrounding nations dominate this long distance. That is because, as I said, most of them come from a place called the Rift Valley, which is at the 1,500 meter altitude, and they have some natural help because the lungs are very powerful. Number two, most of these people are young children, are cattle racers, and they are work in the fields. They're physically well proportioned for athletic activity. They run to school. Most of them run 3 kilometers every day to school. If your kid runs 3 kilometers to school every day, they're quite likely to become a champion. So similarly with Jamaica. Jamaica dominates the sprints, not because the reason of two coaches there. One called Johnson and one other who are Olympic winners earlier, who set up two clubs there to train sprinters. They trained them so well and so hard. And from a small school called Campion High School, all the Olympic winners came.
Right.
You know. So
right. Poorna, I'll combine two questions because we have a time challenge here. One is, Leander Paes once told me in an interview that it's 10,000 hours and 3 million repetitions that build muscle memory, and that's what makes a champion. In simple terms, if you want to become a champion, you need to keep doing the boring stuff, again and again, day in, day out, right? Your muscles will complain, your body entirely will complain, your mind will complain, you probably cannot do certain things kids of your age, will be doing. So the two questions are, one is, how did you happen to have a passion for climbing? Number two, at such an age, how did you manage to have the discipline to achieve something like this? So how did you go about practicing?
So first thing is, I got an opportunity when I was in 9th grade and I was 13 years and 4 months. So honestly speaking, like the place where I come from there is no opportunities. I mean, there is no facilities like transport, hospitality, nothing. I come from a small village which doesn't have any kind of facilities. So even to buy a small matchbox, we need to walk 7 kilometers to get that. So that's the place where I come from. And I have no idea. I know only my village and the place, the hostel where I was doing my schooling. So, a government school mostly people don't believe that there will be no good quality education, quality food. So people will, think about that, and they'll not support their children to, join and get admission in a government school. But I joined in a 6th grade, and when I was in 8th, my mentor, Dr. R.S. Praveen Kumar sir, he was an IPS officer. Now he's into politics, but he was an IPS officer, and he was the secretary of all, residential government schools of Andhra Pradesh. It was Andhra Pradesh when I was, when I climbed Everest. So he thought that these kids can do so many things, but these students needs a support, opportunity, a guidance, then they can achieve anything. And he wanted to, push students and give them confidence to do something. So he started with a, rock climbing training. There was no plan of Everest. There was only plan of adventure sports, and they started with a rock climbing training, which was happened in Bongir village, which is very close to Hyderabad. I think around 2 hours drive. So there is till that time I got selected for rock climbing training because I was very active in sports.
So I'll just ask you one thing. I mean, as a kid, I remember during my summer vacation, I used to be sent somewhere for music or, stay away from parents. I used to feel very homesick. Climbing Mount Everest, right? Did you feel homesick? Did you feel like, oh, I want to see the mother? I want to see my mother and come back?
No, not at all.
We're talking about a 13-year-old climbing the Mount Everest. Yeah.
So actually, till that time, I have no idea, I've seen only small stones and rocks, but that the first time I've seen a 650 feet rock, and it's only single 650 feet rock. And climbing 300 feet, rock was so hard. And very first day I was so scared, I was looking at that rock and I was thinking like, oh God, how to climb this rock? And I was, imagine at 13, I was just 13, kuch bhi pata nahi hai, no idea about nothing. And I was wondering, and there was so many questions are running in my mind, how to climb, and there were so many questions. But once they started training and they started, telling about the rock climbing and everything, they gave some instructions, and then slowly I started. But what I believe that, and what I've learned is that first step is important.
Poorna, very quickly, what is the hardest thing, the toughest thing that you have encountered so far? Very quickly.
I don't say this part is tough and this part is easy, in especially in adventure, because every step is very hard and we need to be very careful. But yeah, I have a very, very hard part during my Everest expedition. So climbing from advanced base camp, 6,400 meters to 7,100 meters is, I personally felt very hard because it was a very steep climbing and there was freezing cold, minus 40 degrees temperature, and of course high altitude.
So do you feel thirsty and hungry like normal human beings do when you climb? I mean,
of course, we used to eat 3 times.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, she is probably the latest manifestation of the women power. They say if you want to empower a nation, empower its women. So I got to ask JK, well done, Poorna. I think we're quite stingy there. Can I have a generous round of applause for what she did. I'll take a, leaf out of what she said and said, empowerment. Must have watched the movie Chak De India, right? So the women's hockey team was finding it difficult to get funded to participate in the World Cup in Australia. And if you look at the Olympics, the last Olympics, Indian men finished on the podium after so many years. And Indian women just one step, beneath that. So the way in which sports and women in sports have changed. You must have seen that over the years. So, a quick take on your, on women in sports in India and especially cricket.
Yeah, it was very different 20 years back. But now women have opportunities, girls are coming forward, parents are letting the girls go and play cricket. There's a career ahead for them also. There's a lot of money pumped into women's cricket. Kerala Cricket Association also stands out in this country because they had academies across all districts. And one good thing I heard was in Wayanad, there's a girl who is brilliant, who played high level of cricket for Kerala, and she's a brilliant girl. But recent girl of under 19 playing for the country is a great achievement, and I think parents who are sitting here would be very happy if any of your children are playing, girls are playing any sport, in cricket or for any matter any sport. Proud to have a champion here. Champions are easily made, but then you have to remain as a legend. That's very important, I think. Legends have to be made out of champions, and then that's the topmost thing what we would love to see you to achieve.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I see a few parents here and probably a few parents in the making as well. So it's time to ask Binoo about one of those key things that he talks about in his book regarding a champion, the top game, is parenting, right? I've been punished for going out and playing cricket, and I've been punished for falling down and having cuts and bruises and wounds on my legs. That's the kind of parenting an average middle-class Indian is used to. But if you want to achieve something in sports, you need to have a society where the parents come in and support their kids. So, Binoo, how important is parenting, number one? Number two, have you really seen a change in the mindset, in the psyche in the last couple of decades?
It's an important question. See, without parental support, you cannot make it anywhere, in any field, academic or sports. But in sports, India is very, very backward in terms of there's very little parental support. But I do the tennis circuit sometimes, cricket, but now you can see it's coming up hundreds of, in the national tennis championship, which happens every year in Delhi, I go there. Hundreds of parents with their small children, bringing their children and coming. Without parental support in the early stages, at least from the age of 10 to 15, you cannot achieve. Because apart from all these things, you need to have so many things looked after, and you must constantly encourage the child. A kid who is beaten in a small race will say, no, I'm stopping. I will not go anymore. Sports is not my scene. So you have to be constantly with the kid, encourage them all the way through. There's nothing is going to happen here. This is the world of sports. And see, even cricketers, even if you get to play for a local IPL league, which every state, that's, we get 50,000 rupees. I mean, that's not easy money. So, professionalism in sport is coming into India, but India is not the outdoor nation at all. If you go to Australia, which I have been during, you see on Saturday hundreds of families driving cycles along the road. All the kids, father in front and mother at the back, and one kid or two kids driving cycling. It's a complete outdoor nation. Australia is one of the, at least among all the World Cups, Australia has got about 7 or 8. It is a complete outdoor nation. They don't spend time inside. Always they're outside. They're either cycling or swimming or, these are all training which, as a young kid, which India is not happening as of now. But now it's coming up in at least sport like cricket and tennis.
Yeah, so sometimes it's easier said than done because they don't have roads where the cows cross. They don't have 1.3 billion people. They don't have the kind of pollution and dust that we experience perhaps, but those are excuses. JK, I want to bring you in here, but very quickly, if I can ask Poorna, the parental support. You came from a very unlikely background. You didn't have anything to climb on, right? Maybe the small rocks around. And to go to a different terrain, and if I know Telangana is a pretty hot place, to go to -40 and scale the heights that you did, what kind of support did you get from your family, primarily your parents?
See, the villages like mine are very less support from the parents, especially for women. But in my case, my parents are always, maybe they know about the society, maybe they know the value of education and sports, anything. But they are always supported. They are always supportive for me in whatever I was doing from my childhood. And even I'm very happy to say that there is no inequality in my family, like men or women. I have an elder brother. We both treated equally, and they are always supported. They are always supported. Because of them, I'm here today.
I can see JK itching to add something to the parental part. JK, what is it?
Well, in the recent times, I've seen parents give up a country like Dubai or Muscat, Oman, bring their children and move into Chennai or Bangalore or to make, or even Kerala for that matter. They want their children to play cricket and they want them to do something in life. They are supporting so much. I know two parents in Bangalore who have brought their daughters from Kerala who are playing for the state and moved there in spite of the hard times they are going through, the parents, and giving them the best to play, practice. So, parents' realization that children can make it to sport is very important, and I would say that I didn't have that support in my times, but I'm seeing very good days ahead for children because the parents are realizing that there is something to offer for the kids, there is some future, and Khelo India and so many other movements of late. I think in this budget also the money given to Khelo India is very huge. I've seen people from Khelo India coming to Chennai, to our center, to train, practice, which is giving a lot of opportunity, and parents are actually coming forward now, unlike 25 or 4 decades back, where Binoo wanted to become a cricketer. I don't think his parents would support that.
Right.
Well, that is the story of life. But then I think it's very nice to see a change in everything in life where sport is so important, and girls like her who are making a mark in the country is astonishing, and I wish you become a legend. And what is your next aim after what you climbed?
So,
Nothing beyond the Everest.
Yeah, so anyway, he mentioned about risk, and he mentioned about risk a couple of times. What is the risk actually for parents when you look at, one thing is sport can give you injuries, lifelong injuries, but beyond that, if you look at Zakir Hussain play on the tabla, he's fully involved in that, right? There is no fear of, or there is no sense of insecurity. So you have to get full on, you have to dive full in, which is a problem. I mean, if you fail at the highest level, or if you don't make the cut, to put things in perspective, there was this Indian cricket team which traveled to Australia in the 60s. They didn't have enough money for dinner. They used to catch fish from the river there and support themselves for dinner. S. Venkatraghavan, former India captain, he told me once in a marriage function, I mean, the unlikeliest of places, he told me we were having a very sumptuous meal, and he said, look, there was a time when an Indian cricketer used to be paid 50 rupees. I'm talking about a test cricketer, 50 rupees for a day. So what happens is if you play for 3 days, you get 150 rupees. So a match which is going to end on the 4th day, they will somehow stretch it to the 5th day because they'll get 250 rupees instead of 200 rupees. You get what I say? And then Sunil Ayers is former captain of 3 rupees a day, yeah. So Kirmani got a total of about 600 rupees for winning the World Cup in 1983. So he showed me the thing, and I said, no, you're kidding me. So he showed me that. So Sunil Ayers, I'm sure you know him. He told me that 800 rupees parota and beef fry. We used to play for that. But from there, cricket has made a massive jump. But the thing is, is India ready for sport like that? Is it commercially, is it financially viable an option? And that is one of the reasons why parents kind of discourage. Have you seen a change there, or is it still where it was?
Yeah, there's a sporting revolution happening in India. That happened. First revolution happened after 1993 World Cup win. As we said, none of them made any money. But thanks to Kapil Dev, he has been giving them, sending them to revolutions and organizing money for. He said,
Right.
if any of you are called, see for the recent movie 1983, he got 20 lakhs for each player.
Right.
Each player.
Right,
So
right.
that's a good thing. I mean, they made no money. They got apart from Kapil Dev, who made money during promotions.
Right.
He was one of the huge successing stories in Indian cricket.
Right.
Now, because of the success of IPL, the entire sporting thing has changed. Every game has a league. That is
Right.
money. Volleyball league is going to start in Cochin. The cricket league is there. The football league, look at the money Kerala Blasters have put into the game. About one player who's been signed yesterday, his signing fee is 1 crore rupees. He was an Indian player. Where's that sort of money?
Right.
Signing fee from an Indian club to Indian club. 1 crore, 80 lakhs, overall fee will be 1 crore.
Right.
That is very good money for an Indian footballer to, change. That sort of money is coming in. I think this professionalization of sport.
Right.
You pay, you get paid.
Right.
That has changed the Indian situation, and sport is at the moment looking very good.
So somebody who knows Indian sport as closely as he does, parents, things have changed. You can blindly send your students or rather your kids into sports. Regarding that, India has a one sport entity, or is a one sport entity, and we have a largely invisible status when it comes to other things. You do well in cricket, you get endorsements. Poorna, having scaled everything that had to be scaled, and you're 22, all of 22, 23 now. You never ask a woman, they say, but in sport it doesn't matter. So 22, do you get sponsorships and do you get endorsement deals and people running after you like the cricketers enjoy?
For Mount Everest expedition, that was my first summit achievement. So for that, I got supported from the government.
Okay.
Because I was in a government school.
Okay.
Then after that, a few other mountains, for 5 other mountains, my coach has taken care. I don't know where he bought from. But the 7th summit, for my 7th summit, I thought that time I realized it is very hard to get sponsorship.
Right.
The first time after COVID. This was
Right.
after COVID. So that was the first time I went, for the sponsorship, to ask sponsorship for the people, from the people. But it was very hard. That what I realized. It is very hard. But maybe for adventure, it is maybe hard to get sponsorship.
Right. How many of us want to meet Amitabh Bachchan? I'm sure a lot of us want to meet Amitabh Bachchan, right? But there's a clip on YouTube where Amitabh Bachchan sits like this and asks questions to Poorna, and the amount of respect and the regard that the Big B has for this young girl is amazing. So success is not always measured in terms of money, it's also in terms of recognition, but we do need money rather, to feel comfortable, to feel secure. Now, if JK and Binoo, anyone can answer this question, because it comes from JK's book, and you, having gone through what you went through, probably would be in a position to add on to that. He talks about being in a zone, Z-O-N-E zone, wherein a champion gets into a winning zone. That is when he sends the ball in the right way out of his hand, it comes out very well. Right from the start, he middles the ball. If you have seen Sachin Tendulkar, his favorite shot, back past the bowler. When he does that in the first over, he's in a good zone, right? And in any walk of life, you'll be in a good zone. But people walk in and walk out, right? What do we do to is there anything that we can do? Is it a seasonal thing like winter and summer, or is there anything that an individual can do, a team can do, to be consistently there in a zone for a long time?
See, every coach, and this has been, people are trying to understand the notion of being in a zone for a long time. See, it is a state of mind where nothing else matters to you. Right. Your state of mind and body are focused. And if you want to score 250 in a match, you have to be in that state of mind. You cannot be in that stage. Even if a bomb goes off, you may not. Somebody has said the same thing. It is the ultimate stage of. In religion, there are other stages of mind, but to be in sport, coaches call it to be in the zone. Once you are in the zone, and it happens, it doesn't happen all the time. If everything works, your mind, your body, your physical things, your stamina, everything works, okay, you are in the zone. For example, to win a tennis 5-setter in Wimbledon, you have to be on the zone. Right. Not a single ball can go an inch beyond the line. Right. In tennis. Right. Your game is gone. If you are facing that one fellow is serving for the match, right, it's the 5th set. Right. If you serve outside, it's gone. Right. So you have to be in the zone.
Would you want to add to that, JK, very quickly?
Well, you can reach certain heights. You can be in a zone of comfort, provided you are a happy person, you take life as it comes, you enjoy the game, and then I think one can keep going in the same zone for a longer period. It is just that when you reach that level, it's your balance, your mind, your mindset, which makes you a better sportsman or a human being. So once you reach that level, it's very important that you can keep that level going and achieve more and more and have the aspiration, the determination to go further. I think these days that's happening very often because kids are playing against so much of competition. They all want to achieve. They also want to get into that zone. I think it's a practice. The practice makes you perfect. And as I said earlier, sport is not only just a sport. If you take it rightly and if you go around the world with sport, meet people, I think you can make better human beings and do well in life. Thank you.
Right. See, again, alluding to Leander Paes, he said in an interview, I have lost 76.3% of my matches. Still 18 Grand Slams, an Olympic individual medal. Binoo seizing the moment. I mean, we all watch football matches. You see a midfielder or even a defender running up and down. But it's a striker who just makes his presence felt for a few minutes in the 90 minutes who makes the difference. They get the best of endorsement deals. They get the best of transfer offers. So being a striker, and when I asked this to a footballer, he said, a striker's value is in the fact that he is at the right place at the right time, right? So a champion seizes the moment. So if he can become a champion, 18 Grand Slams, in spite of losing 76.3% of your matches, being a champion is also about identifying the opportunity, sense the opportunity, and being present there, isn't it?
Yeah. Leander keeps talking about his Atlanta Olympics match. He lost to Andre Agassi, right?
Yeah, in the semi-finals.
Agassi semi-final. But thing is that these things hurt you so much, you know, especially in the case of Leander, that I don't think I've met him many times. I don't think he got over that at all, you know,
And
to be at that moment.
And he was playing with the broken wrist. He told me he had a broken wrist.
Yeah, but whatever the reason, at that point of time, he had to be full and whole. Your body has to be, but he's played better matches, you know. As in tennis, if you're talking Leander, there's nobody even today who's so much of a great player on the net in doubles than Leander. I've seen Leander in Delhi, India versus Spain. Nadal was playing the other side doubles, he played doubles. What an amazing game Leander played on the net, you know.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, a moment, yes, that moment, how it is caused, can you live for that moment? All these things are a question of concern. But you cannot prepare for the day, you know, you are going to hit a penalty goal. I mean, at that moment, you have to rise up. That's it.
So, as I mentioned at the start, we can play a test match for 5 days, so we can even have a timeless test matches with this kind of resource persons on stage. But it's time for us to wind up, but not before having a closing comment from each. And I'm going to ask you, Binoo, starting with you, all three of you, the same question. If you can name or mention, put your finger on 3 most important aspects of being a champion, what would those be? Poorna, you can prepare yourself now.
Yeah, most important aspect of being a champion is desire. Unless you have the desire and will to win and to be number one all the time, you will never make it. For example, Djokovic was asked his coach at the age of 5 or 6, when the coach, sir, when will I be number one? You know, he said, okay, it'll take time. You know, one is the desire, and number two is number two is to keep on learning and practicing. If many Indians who became number one relaxed after that. There is an Indian Olympic, her name is Punia. She went for 4 Olympics in the discus. He didn't qualify for any.
Binoo, I'll be penalized for overshooting the time. So the third point very quickly, please. Sorry to interrupt you.
So first one is dream big, believe in yourself and work hard. Very, very hard. That's it.
I've been in this literacy festival and I must say that I would like to see much more sports, young people to come and be in these festivals, to learn more, and especially the book Binoo has written, which I have just flashed through. I think those kind of books are very useful for parents and children to read, and I would say this festival has been a magnificent festival to learn. I myself at this age have learned so much from that book. Thank you.